Hello, everybody. Welcome to Office Hours. So if you are joining me for Office Hours, maybe on YouTube or Facebook, this is a time to ask any music-related questions. Just go ahead and write in your question in the chat area or comment area, and I will do my best to answer it. We're going to be on for about an hour today. We do this every single Wednesday, so you're welcome to join. Hello to all of my students on Zoom. Hello, Michelle, Bruce, Marilyn, Joe, Joseph, Jerry, Ronald. I love that picture, Ron. I like that. It's really slick. All right, so let's see what we got for questions here. All right, so Joseph asked, I like that you added a no-bowl piano version to Piano Practice Trifecta on my dashboard. Can you recommend the best ways to use it in my practice routine? Also, will Accompaniment Essentials be incorporated into the Essentials part of the No Bowl Piano Trifecta? All right, so what's going to happen is everything is going to be, so as you know, I've been, doing these lessons now for 20 years, believe it or not. It started with jazzpianolessons.com many, many years ago. And the lessons have been designed to be self-contained. So, Piano Essentials was a course and self-contained, and not necessarily designed to go like you go from this one into this one, into this one, into this one, because it provided the most amount of flexibility for students to be able to come into the program and find their own path. And what I've been doing over, the past 5 years or so is creating my Essentials programs. And that is all what Jazz Edge Core is all about. So Jazz Edge Core is the 30-day playbook, Piano Essentials, Chord Essentials, the new Piano Accompaniment Essentials, which is going to be the acronym is PACE, P-A-C-E. That's the Confident Improviser, TCI, and Standards by the Dozen, right? So those 6 courses are going to be found on the Jazz Edge dashboard for both No Bowl Piano members and also Jazz Edge members. Obviously, No Bowl Piano members, since it's a smaller subset of the Jazz Edge lessons, will not have access to all of those full access to the course. You'll have to become a full Jazz Edge member. But for Jazz Edge members, you'll be able to see all 6 of those courses on your dashboard and be able to easily move in between them using those drop-down menus. I'm also going to make it, if you enjoy the Trifecta, I'm going to make it on the dashboard. Part of the preferences that you can hide the the Jazz Edge Core, those 6 courses, and just show the Trifecta if you want to. Now, what is Jazz Edge Core and how does it fit into the overall plan of practice? So Jazz Edge Core, those 6 courses, like I said, that is the core material. So you start with the 30-day piano playbook. Most of you are probably already beyond that, but if you're brand new to the site, you're brand new to the piano, that's where you start. Piano Essentials, we've talked about many times before, how Piano Essentials is really important, getting down all of your scales, your technique, the grab technique, all of that stuff. But you can move in between the courses in any way that you want. But the idea is that Jazz Edge Core, if all you focused on were those 6 courses, that would be more than enough. Right there, you would learn your technique, you would understand music theory, you would learn all of your chords, learn rootless chords, improvisation, analysis, standards, all of that, all right? So you'll be able to stay just within those 6 courses. If you want more individualized direction, that's where coaching comes in, right? So as you know, every Tuesday I do coaching for my Jazz Edge and No Bowl piano students. So you can join in and share your playing, and I could say, okay, well, why don't you check out this course, or why don't you check out that course? The one thing to remember, and it's kind of funny, I came up with this analogy that fits really well, is that, like students, like I said, I've been doing this a long time, and students, over the years, they get upset because, why can't you just list out a path for me? Well, the path is different for every student, right? I mean, it depends on what you're interested in learning. It depends on what your skill set is right now. Depends on many, many different factors. And the analogy that I came up with is like a doctor. It's like you calling up a doctor that you've never met before and say, hey, look, I have this pain, and then they prescribe you medicine or some course of treatment without ever actually seeing you. it's ridiculous, right? Obviously, a doctor needs to see you in order to be able to prescribe the best path moving forward. Well, same thing at the piano as well. No teacher worth their salt should tell you do this, without ever hearing your playing, because there are many different subtleties. So anyway, I would start with that jazz edge chord or the trifecta, and then if you want further direction, definitely join in on coaching, share your playing. Remember, during coaching, sharing your playing, everyone is super, super supportive. And then I can give you some direction. It's like, okay, well, why don't you go ahead and do that, or why don't you go ahead and do that? Lastly, if you need just a little bit of extra one-on-one, there's always the private lesson option, which private lessons are only for my paying students, right? So if you're a student of the site, then you can opt to take a private lesson with me, but that's completely optional. Honestly, I feel like during coaching, you could get most of what you need during coaching, and you don't have to pay for a private lesson. So hopefully that helps, Joseph. Let me know if you have a follow-up question on that. Gerald asks, is it possible to have some one-on-one 60-minute sessions? Oh, okay, what's kind of funny? I was just saying that. So I don't do hour-long private lessons. I only do half-hour private lessons. Why? Number one, all the private lessons are all recorded, using a virtual keyboard, high-def video, and all of that. Within 30 minutes, we can get a lot done. And when it's all recorded on video and you have access to that video that you could watch over and over and over again, there's so much information in a half hour that I can give to you and that you could pull out of the recordings, that a 60-minute lesson is really unnecessary. I've not found one student yet in the years that I've been doing the online training and online one-on-one lessons that they've needed anything longer than that. And of course, nothing says you can't book another lesson the following week. And the following week, you could book a lesson every week if you wanted to. All right. So usually 30 minutes is the most that I do, and I have found that the 30-minute mark is the sweet spot. Let's see. All right. Hello, Piano Beats from YouTube. If you got a question, go ahead and ask it. All right. So who has another question? This is your time. Go ahead and ask. Go ahead, Ronald.
Hey, hi, Willie. Thanks a lot for being here. I was wondering, so I was doing the inspiration on the Confident Improviser number 23. So I'm running it through the pattern you have of the fourths, but then you switch to the tritone for the rest of the fourths to cover the different versions and stuff. But what I was interested in is I feel so I was adding the guide tones and then trying to do approaches with the guide tones, and I'm working that all up, right? So it's just in the beginning, but it seems to me that I should train myself to say to myself in my brain the scale I'm going to, right? So if I'm starting on the C and then I'm going to the F, I really feel like I need to be saying to myself in my brain, F dominant 7, so I know the scale before I get there. And then as I'm going there, then I'm already going B flat dominant 7. And then as I'm going there, I'm going E flat dominant 7. Is that kind of what you do in your brain when you're moving through progressions?
Yeah. So as a jazz musician, okay, I'm sure other musicians do it as well, but it's very ubiquitous and very important as jazz musicians to constantly be looking forward. And what I mean by that is, again, if you're on, well, here, let me pull this up just so you can kind of see. Just give me 1 second. All right. Well, this is
23.
Yeah,
Confident Improviser 20.
Here's the cycle 4 motion right here.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So when we're looking at this, right, when I'm on C7 here, I don't want to just be thinking C7. You're right. As soon as I hit C7, I want to be thinking, well, where am I going? Okay. And then when I'm on F7, I want to be thinking where I'm going. And I might even look ahead and kind of see, okay, this is all cycle 4 motion. The reason that that's important is not just for improvisation, but then also important if I decide, hey, you know what, I want to do a tritone substitution, right? Because I'm not going to be able to do a tritone substitution getting to B flat. So let's say I want to replace that F7 with a B7 chord. I'm not going to know that unless I know where it's going to. So it's, to answer your question, yes, it's very much, we're always looking ahead at what the next chord is. Now, obviously, as we, play this, like right now, this is on 200 beats a minute, that's going to be moving along pretty darn quickly. So in that case, that time frame becomes much smaller. And as you get better at it, you can kind of see quickly, what's coming up. But as soon as I'm hitting that chord, I'm already thinking about what's coming next.
But now, one of the questions I have is to try to train myself to do this, because sometimes I'm silent in my brain as I'm moving, and then no wonder I get lost because I was silent in my brain. I wasn't, remembering to say it or keep up with the change, right?
Yep.
I was just kind of going on by my ear or something like that. But my question is, so like, for example, with the F7, when you're moving to the F7, you could think F mixolydian. But the problem is with that is that takes 2 steps, right? Unless you know those modes like that. And I don't know them that well. But I know F7 dominant easier, right? It comes to me faster, or F7 or F flat 7, right? The scale. So I guess at your level, I mean, you don't even, those things are so ingrained in you at this point. You can move through a 3-6-2-5-1. You're thinking about the B section, right?
Yeah, like a lot of times, let's pull up another tune here. So this is just part of the do
the Way You Look Tonight, standards by the dozen.
Okay, there you go. We'll take a look at that. All right, so if you take a look at The Way You Look Tonight, right? It's a little bit small here, but when I look at this, if let's say I'm going to look at this song, I've never played this song before, and I'm hitting this on a gig, okay? And the reason I say on a gig is because that's go time, right? In practice, I can pause, review, and whatnot. On a gig, if someone pulls out that tune, it's like, okay, hey, look, we're going to do The Way You Look Tonight, all right? And everyone's kind of shuffling around, getting ready, whatnot. There's like the typical 1 minute or 2 minute in between tunes. I might pull this song up, and I'm going to take a look at this immediately. And some of the things that I'm going to be looking for is, number one, well, what key is it in? All right, I know I'm in the key of F. I see, okay, I got an intro up here. That intro is going to get repeated. But then I'm going to see this right here. Okay, and I'm going to look at this. I'm going to take a quick look at this and see, like, all right, this is quite diatonic. I do a 2-5 going to the 4. And I'm also going to take a look, all right, the bridge is going to A flat, or flat 3, however you want to think of it, okay? But I know the bridge is going to be going to A flat. So now I know immediately, before I even start the tune, that here I am in F, and I know that the bridge is going to go to A flat, right? So if I get lost in the song, my ears can kind of be listening and say, okay, oh no, wait a second, it doesn't sound like we're in F anymore. We've moved. Okay, we must be at the bridge. Or no, now we've moved back to the the key of F here. So now we're back on that A section, right? So always kind of like looking ahead, and then also getting that 35,000 foot view of the song, right? It's kind of good to see it like small like this, because this is really kind of how you see it. You see it like a boop, just one, the whole song right there. And then you look at it and you just break it down into these blocks. All right, now I know I'm in F and A flat. Now, let's go back for 1 second and talk about the C7, F7, B flat 7, E flat 7. Okay, so it's all dominant 7th chords. Now, yes, you could be thinking C7 is C mixolydian, F7 is F mixolydian, B flat 7 is B flat mixolydian. What I find is easier is think about, and this holds true for chords as well, right? But think about, how does that chord relate to that major scale? So when you look at mixolydian, it's just flat 7 from the major scale. So again, if you know your major scales just inside and out, so like there's F major. Now all you got to think is, okay, it's mixolydian. Boop, just going to flat the 7th, right? That's B flat. All right, this is my B flat major. Oh, I just got to flat that 7, right? So as you get better at really knowing those scales, and like I said, you should be able to spell any of your scales without hesitation. Key of A flat major, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat. The third is C, sharp 11 is D, 9 is B flat, 13 is F, root is A flat. Okay, so like really knowing the notes of that scale. Now, as soon as I know that scale, if I'm going to move to Mixolydian, it's just that. So I find that rather than having this litany of, okay, well, here are all the different scales I can use on a dominant seventh, instead looking at the notes that are going to be different from that major scale, depending on the scale, is going to make it a little bit easier for you, right? Because in that way, you could just blow through the major scale on that chord, but know that, oh, wait a second, I got to flat the seventh. Let's say there were minor chords. It was a C minor 7. Okay, well, I might be thinking C Dorian, or I might be thinking C natural minor, Aeolian, right? So then I think, okay, it's the flat third and the flat seventh at least, all right? So for C major, I'm going to at least flat the third and flat the seventh. Maybe I might flat the 6 as well, okay? That I might use my ear for. I might think some theory, but if it's moving along pretty quick, and if I hit the A natural, it's probably not going to be the end of the world. But if I hit an E natural or a B natural on a C minor 7th chord, that's probably going to like... right? That's not going to sound all that great. And by the way, if you guys are joining me on Facebook or YouTube, bear in mind while streaming to those services, the piano sounds a little bit crunchy. All of this is recorded and available for members in high def. So if you're just joining me over there, just bear in mind that the keyboard is not going to sound, the piano sound isn't going to sound that great because I'm streaming literally to 3 services at once, right? But anyway, does that make sense, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, that's the experience that I'm having too. So I mean, you hit on all the points. Like, for example, with the C minor, you know, a lot of time when I get into that chord, immediately I'm thinking, am I going to do natural or I'm going to do Dorian, right? Or
Yep.
melodic minor, but mostly the Dorian to the, and it's funny how sometimes I'll hit the flat 6 and sure enough, I'll go, oh, I don't like that sound, you know, because I missed it.
Yep.
So my mind still is not quick enough, right? So I just think so I would think it would be good advice for me to drill on that, right, Willie? To force myself to say it in my brain until I don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah, and remember that like improvisation is a lot of disparate parts that seem like they're disparate and separate from the whole, but in reality they're all interconnected. But it's almost impossible to see the connection. It would be like saying, explain the internet to me, right? I mean, the internet is so huge. It's going from computer to computer to computer. Like literally right now, the signal getting from me to your, home right now is probably going through 5 or 6 different computers. And then every other student on right now, it's being rerouted. And it's just so big to be able to conceptualize it that you really can't see it. You just kind of understand like, okay, we're connected to this network and we're able to do this kind of stuff. But the inner workings of it, most people don't know. All that we care about is, does it work? And that's the same thing with improvisation. There's so many interconnected parts at the end of the day. All we really care about is, well, I mean, if we really boil it down to one thing, does it sound good to our ears, right? So what you want to do is, the reason I bring that up is because you want to practice each of these disparate parts. And as you get better at each of these different parts, you'll notice that the whole improves. For instance, take C7, all right? Sure, fine. C7, you know that I could do that Mixolydian scale. But I have to make sure that I know several different things. I have to make sure that I know the chord, right? I got to know the notes of the chord. I then have to know the scale, but then I might want to know things like tensions on top of that. I might want to know how that chord functions in the progression. There's all of these different things that I could be practicing that help me to understand the whole better. And what's challenging is when you're trying to learn improvisation, it's very difficult to see that whole. But know that if you're having difficulty being able to, like, say, get to something, it might literally be that, well, maybe doing some of that chord practice away from the piano, spelling out those chords, that might be the missing link for you. Spelling out those scales away from the piano, thinking about what tensions are on these different chords, like what's the 9, what's the 13 on all these dominant 7th chords. So this is extremely helpful practice to do away from the piano. especially as the weather gets nicer. You could be going out, taking a walk, just run through your circle of fourths or circle of fifths, right? And just say the names of, like, take dominant seventh chords. All right, let me just go through and spell dominant seventh chords. A flat, C, E flat, G flat, E7, E, G sharp, B, D, F7, F, A, C, E flat, right? So I can just go through and spell these chords and get faster and faster and faster at them. And while doing it away from the piano, what I should be starting to do is see that chord in my mind's eye. So I should see that shape. Even if I didn't look at it, I should still see that shape of F7. When I'm thinking about F major, right, my F major scale, I should still see that shape. All white notes except for that one black note. C major, all white notes, right? D major, white notes except for these two black notes, right? And then I should also know that that's an F sharp and a C sharp, even though it says G flat and D flat, right? So practicing those separate things away from the piano, that's where you're going to find, I think, a lot of success. It's going to start to link together for you a lot better.
Thank you, Willie. It's great. And by the way, the confident improviser is really sensational stuff. Really, I can't compliment you more on how wonderful your thoughtfulness is in putting together the program, because you have the more basic kind and then the inspiration. It's just wonderful that you put it all together. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And again, that's 20 years of pedagogy and curriculum development, and that's what you get, and that's how it came about. It's learning, and thanks to all of you as well, because the feedback that I get from you is what helps me as an educator to be able to, like, really formulate something that works well for you guys. And in TCI, you could see, there's a lot of disparate things that you're doing in TCI, right? 3-note voicings, 4-note voicings, enclosures, approaches, rhythmic stuff. So at first blush, if you were to just look at one exercise out of TCI, you'd be like, that's not improvisation. See, you got to look at it as the whole. So I'm glad that you're seeing that, and glad that you're finding success with that. So thank you, Ron. I appreciate that feedback. Joseph had a follow-up. When using the trifecta, do you do them in order, or do you start all three at once? All right, so I'll talk the trifecta, and then also, again, Jazz Edge Core. You could do all of the courses simultaneously. They're all designed so that they all can work together. Now, doing 3 courses or 6 courses simultaneously, that's quite a bit of work, right? And you might start to feel overwhelmed. So it's completely, you've heard me say this before, but I'll say it again. It's important to say that these are your lessons. And what that means is that you get to do them in any order that works for you. What you really want to be cluing into is what's going on here and here for you. Right. And what I mean by that is, how are you feeling about doing those courses? Like, let's say that you start with the 30-day playbook. Okay. So let's just, have an example. You've come to Jazz Edge, you just found my lessons, and you're just starting with the 30-day playbook. And I'm talking about triads, right? And you're like, Willie, come on. I got triads down. I've been playing for 25 years. I know my triads. So that's the kind of thing where, like, you maybe do like a cursory look at it. You just kind of peruse it quick, listen to what this guy Willie has to say. Maybe he has something to say about triads, but then you just kind of blast through it. Listen to me for 5-10 minutes. And don't forget, you could speed up the videos as well. So if you want me to talk a little bit faster, you can go ahead and speed up the video, and I get through it a little bit faster. Or conversely, if I'm going too fast for you, because as time has gone on, I tend to talk a little bit faster, then you could slow down the video. And then I start to talk a little bit like that. The good thing is, speeding up the video or slowing it down does not change the pitch. So it's still going to be within the original key. But anyway, the point is, you could start on 30-day playbook, and then halfway through, you'd be like, all right, yeah, I got this, and then move over to something else. But this and this, what you're going to be thinking about is like, okay, are you getting overwhelmed mentally? If you're getting overwhelmed mentally or emotionally, and what I mean emotionally is, like, are you feeling frustrated? You feeling helpless? I can't do this. It's like, and I'll get these emails from students where it's like, they'll say, like, I just can't find any success. It's like, all right, well, have you gone through the steps, you know, or if you just kind of bounced all over the place. If you're bouncing all over the place and you're saying, I don't get it, or I'm feeling frustrated, then that tells me, and it should tell you as well, that, okay, I got to step back and I got to go step by step. But if you're going through and you're feeling like I'm holding you back, well, then no, you don't have to be held back. You could do, for instance, you could do Piano Essentials and the Confident Improviser at the same time. You could do Piano Essentials and Standards by the Dozen. You could skip over Piano Essentials because you could say to me, I got my major scales down. I know my major scales. I could play all 12 of them. I got my technique down pretty good. I come from a classical background, maybe. I know how to do all of that. So in that case, all right, well then skip over Piano Essentials. Go right to Chord Essentials. Learn some different styles, some different accompaniments there, some different rhythms, and then maybe you do Confident Improviser and Standards by the Dozen. So the point is you could do the courses in any order that you want, and then the Jazz Edge Core, any of those 6 courses, you can move around in any order and it will be absolutely fine. But even within those 6, remember, if you're feeling frustrated, then just go in order. If you're feeling like, okay, I'm getting it, then go in any order you want. And of course, remember to come on Tuesdays and get feedback on your playing. And then that would be a good way in which, if you want to check yourself just to make sure, like, you know, I'm doing Chord Essentials. Am I doing this right? You know. Okay, I got it, Willie. Is that good? Well, I'm going to say to you, yeah, you got kind of notes there, but the rhythm is not going all that well. Maybe you play like... Now, some of you are already going to tell me what's wrong with that one. I'm using way too much pedal. That's the kind of stuff that there's no way in the world I could ever tell you that unless I hear you play, right? And there's probably no way in the world that you would ever know that you're using too much pedal or not enough pedal or playing too heavy or too soft or not in a good rhythm without getting that feedback. So make sure that, you know, as you're moving through those courses in any order that you want, think about how you're feeling mentally and emotionally about it. And then also be sure to join in on coaching so that I can give you really that feedback that is, student specific. Bruce, go ahead. You have a question on Ireal Pro?
Just a quick question. Is there a limit to the number of measures you could put in Ireal Pro?
That's a good question. Actually, I don't really know. I mean, you know, as the fact that I haven't developed that software, I'm not sure what the limit is. I would guess that there probably is not, or if there's a limit, it's probably just ridiculous. Well, yeah, like look at this right here. I could do a 96 measure song. Okay. So, and 96 measures, right? That's quite a bit.
Yeah,
right?
I'm not composing a symphony here.
Yeah. And then the other thing too that's really important to understand and realize is what is the function of Ireal Pro, right? Ireal Pro does what it does, and it does it very well. And that's the main reason why I recommend it to my students. Bearing in mind that I have no skin in the game on this software. I didn't develop it. I didn't write it. I don't get any kickback from it. I'm not even sure that the developer even knows about me. But it does what it does extremely well. But as you get to a certain level, like let's say you wanted to do a symphony or you wanted to do a long form composition, that's where maybe you go with like Sibelius or Muse Score. Maybe you go with Band in the Box. Maybe you go with Garage Band, Cakewalk. You know, those types of tools.
Yeah. Now, so a question came up because I have putting a lot of my sheet music into my iPad. I got a foot pedal for it, and I don't like using the foot pedal going backwards. Because you know you got doing a tap dance underneath your piano, and sometimes you screw up and the pages fly out. So to make sure you're only going forward in one direction, sometimes you got to lengthen the Ireal Pro.
Yep.
So you take out some of the returns, the repeats, and so you keep moving forward. So that's the reason for my question.
Yeah, with 96 measures at your disposal, And then also, I just pulled up one that was 96 measures. Nothing says that you can't go more than that. I didn't check. You know, you could test it out for yourself. But with 96 measures, even on a 32 bar form, which is a typical length, right, of a standard,
plenty space.
right. So I mean, you got basically three times the amount of space. So if you didn't want any repeats in there and that kind of stuff, because you're right, like having to do the foot pedal thing can be troublesome. That should afford you more than enough space.
Okay.
All right.
I can work with that.
All right, good. Oh, thank you, Rick. Completely agree with Ronald's comment. Bite-sized pieces and gradual progress on TCI. Thank you very much, Rick. And I appreciate getting the feedback. I mean, it's really important. Just as much as it's important for you to get feedback from me, it's important that I get feedback from you as well. So thank you. Jerry asks, I would like to be able to play exactly what you just played or something like that. Where do I start? All right, well, this right here. Oh, sorry. This is Chord Essentials number 6, I believe it is. All right, so if you're not familiar with Chord Essentials, you could search for it on the site, but like I said, in a few days on the dashboard, you're going to see it right there as part of Jazz Edge Core. In Chord Essentials, I take 10 different, I like to call them vignettes or little etudes. So like one of them is like, I have to pull it up in order to read it again. I don't want to play it and not play it exactly. Like one of them is like, another one is, another one's like, like a funk thing. There's like a classical birdie, that kind of stuff. So you go through in Chord Essentials 10 different, etudes in each key. So 10 times 12, it's 120 in total. And there are backing tracks for each one of them, right? So there's 120 backing tracks that you could play along with. I do not have Chord Essentials in Ireal Pro. The backing tracks are all just MP3 files, but they're simple enough that if you get Ireal Pro, I would encourage you, try putting them in there yourself, right? It's because it would be a good idea for you to learn how to edit your own charts in Ireal Pro, which it's really quite simple. And take a look at that Ireal Pro tutorial that I did. You could find it right in the help section in the documentation. Anyway, Chord Essentials is a great way of getting down different voicings, different rhythms, different styles, and that you can actually utilize these Chord Essentials as intros, as vamps, even as endings as well. So if you like that sound that I just did that, if you like that, that's right in Chord Essentials. Check that out. That's in the key of C. Obviously, you could... in C, F, D, right? You can move it around into all different keys as well. And the idea there is that, let's say you like that country one that I just did. Well, now you could start to bring that into other tunes, right? So let's say I'm going to pull up here. Oops. I'll pull up my The Way You Look Tonight again. Let's say I want to do this in like a country feel. See, I could take that same idea from Chord Essentials and then just plop that right into another song and change that style around. That's the idea of Chord Essentials, is that you learn some of these different styles. Now, it's not. Let me just be clear. It's not just as easy as like, oh, okay, well, I take exactly what he played here and play it exactly right there. Obviously, it doesn't work out that clean. But the raw material of these different styles is in Chord Essentials, which then allows you to be able to move it over to a another song. All right, let's see here. Gil, all right, go ahead. Another Ireal Pro question.
Yeah, yesterday, as long as you have The Way You Look Tonight, that's the one I worked with.
Okay.
I took, instead of using your ending, I went and used the intro, and I did a little editing and put the intro as an ending. But now in performance, I only did like one time through, so it wasn't too bad. I tried to figure it out, but how would I like do your form, and then after I've done your form a number of times, like maybe 5 or 6 times, or 4 or 5 times, I'd want to jump then to my ending without.
All right. So just to make sure I'm understanding, all right. So you're basically taking this part up here and then putting it basically down here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, this is understanding the function and limitation of Ireal Pro. So Ireal Pro being software and not being intelligent enough to like be able to like take like like a head cue, like, okay, now we're ready to go there, which you and I both know you could do in the bandstand. You can't do that with Ireal Pro. So what you're likely going to have to do is you're either going to have to write it out, or what you could do is you could put it so you could duplicate this chart in Ireal Pro, make your own, and then you could just replace, basically copy this and then bring it down here, and then go from there. But it's going to hit it every time, right? So like when you go to the coda, it's going to go down there.
But now I've been using Band in the Box for years, but with Band in the Box, got to take the PC. I like, being able to do my work at home on the home computer, put it in the iPad and carry one little thing. It has my chart right there and everything. That's why I was asking that question. For some gigs, I would rather not do a whole setup like that, with the computer on the stand, the laptop and all that stuff.
Well, remember, sometimes this is where we put on our musical hat, in which it's like, so you come in here and then it's like, you're going to go down here. Well, maybe what you do is you just put that as an F, right? And then nothing else afterwards. So it ends on F. Right? So then what you do is it hits F, nothing else plays. So the band stops, and then you at the end just kind of maybe do a little rubato ending, or come up with some other ending. If you want a nice little button ending, you could do that as well, but the band stops. So that would be one way in which you could kind of play around with it so that you could get it to work. Now, if you want the band with you, another option is to go into Ireal Pro, export the file as an audio file, right? And then you could then basically loop this whole section. So you go in audio-wise, copy it, chop off this ending part right here, right? So chop it off in the audio, and then boop, copy, paste, and then put it like 4, 5, 6 times, whatever you want, and then tack on your own ending. That's a little bit more technical and it's a little bit more work. But then once you have that audio file, like in GarageBand or whatnot, you could play it from the iPad in GarageBand. But doing it on a gig, what I would suggest is export that as an audio file, as an MP3 file, and just hit play on the MP3 file. Make sense?
Well, yeah, but with Band in the Box, I can decide on the fly, because I have my pedals for repeat and go to end.
Yeah.
And so I can do on the fly if I'm somebody's digging, I see somebody dancing there, some people dancing, which they do sometimes in the restaurant. The old couple get up and dance, what I mean? And I'm playing the standard. I can keep it going, and then when I come to that last chorus I want, I have the pedal program. I got like a Kinesis triple pedal.
Okay, yeah.
And so I can hit the pedal and go right to the end.
Yeah.
So that's what I was wondering about being able to repeat the form, repeating the form, and then having the ending, on when I wanted it,
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know of any way that you'd be able to do something like that in Ireal Pro. But in all honesty, that's the difference between a $15 program and a $200 program, or whatever Band in the Box is now.
Yeah.
So
but
Go ahead, Gil.
But it's a great program though. I love it. You know, and the fact that I can, the fact that my mini, my Mac Mini, and my laptop, I got a little used MacBook Pro. You know, little 2012. You know, the fact that I can just throw everything. Well, not Mac, or my iPad. I have a few. I'm becoming a Mac man now. You know, the fact that I can throw things from one Mac to the other easily. And then with the iPad, just take it on the gig, throw it on my music stand, and not have to carry my laptop stand, my laptop, plug up the extra cording and all that junk. You know, just makes it great. But okay. Well, I guess I'll just have to I'll work around and see what I can do, and maybe just try to use it as it is.
Yeah, I mean, like anytime that you're dealing with like using something like this. You know, on the bandstand, there's always just, you know, it's great that in Band in the Box you can, you know, kind of do that, you know, use your foot pedal to be able to, like, you know, move it, you know, to a different section. I will tell you that, you know, you can get Band in the Box for Mac. I did purchase it years ago. I tried to like install it, and I'm a tech guy, and it just would not work for me. It was weird. So I just basically gave up on Band in the Box because it was always seemed like a PC program, and it got ported to Mac. Maybe now they're better, but I really don't have much experience with Band in the Box. I know about them, and I know it's good stuff. But another option too is like if you wanted to do that kind of stuff, for any of you that are interested in that, I'm not sure if it would work, but those Microsoft Surface tablets, those are pretty nice too. They're, you know, and I wonder if Band in the Box would work on there, and if you could hook up your pedals, and that would be a smaller tablet-like device that you could bring along with you. So I don't want to have you go out and buy more stuff, but just a, you know, food for thought. If that was important, that may be another outlet.
Maybe I'll put it on Christmas 2020, Christmas 2021 list or something.
Yeah. All right, sounds good.
Okay, thanks, Willie.
You got it. Rick, looks like there's a companion for iPad. What do you mean? Band in the Box, you mean, or Ireal Pro?
Excuse me?
Rick, Band in the Box. Rick said that there's looks like there's a companion for the iPad for Band in the Box. So that's something else you could take a look at as well. You know, search the App Store, Apple's App Store, and see if there's anything on Band in the Box for the iPad. You might be able to hook up some pedals and do something that way. All right. So, any other questions? Anyone else? All right. Marilyn had a question.
Is the Gems tomorrow?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So tomorrow is my homeschool piano coaching, the Confident Improviser at 1, and the Gems session at 3 Eastern time. Okay. And, you know, let me just take a quick peek at my schedule here just to make sure. Yes. 1 o'clock is TCI, and 3 p.m. is the Gems session. Marilyn asks, regarding piano tip emails you sent, is there a place in the site that they are all together? Not as of yet. So the piano tips emails are basically blog posts from all of my different sites that have now all been combined together into Jazz Edge. So for those of you who've been with me for a while, you know that used to have Piano with Willie, still have Piano with Willie, right? But that site is like locked down for only current members. And there was Cocktail Piano Lessons, Rock Piano Lessons, Funk Piano, and all of those sites. So there are some articles on Cocktail Piano Lessons, some articles on Funk, some articles on Rock. So you'll get these emails, and then they'll send you to these different sites. And then unfortunately, sometimes, you know, some of those articles have broken links in them. So it is on my plate that I am going to move all of those articles and everything over to one site. I'm not sure if I'm going to move them over to Jazz Edge or put them someplace else, but it is in the works, Marilyn. As of right now, to answer your question, no, they're on those separate sites. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
You got it, Marilyn. All right. Anyone else? And I see that I have people joining on YouTube and Facebook. If you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and chat in your question. These students that are unmuting themselves, those are students from Jazz Edge and Noble Piano who are joining me via Zoom right now. But if you're on YouTube or Facebook, you can chat in your question and ask that way. All right, so anyone else have any questions? Piano Accompaniment Essentials is going to be starting very soon. I had the idea to maybe release something for Saturday. I'm not sure if it's going to get released Saturday, May 1st or not. I will see, but it is coming out in May. I'm also working out for any of the students out there that are not students yet. I'm working out a new free trial on one of my sites as well. So you'll see that and hear that, learn about that. Yeah, Piano Accompaniment Essentials is going to be really nice. And again, it's going to follow kind of that same TCI approach, where we're going to start really simple, right? So some of those beginning lessons are going to be very simple for you. Don't be fooled though, because everything is going to kind of build on itself. So you're going to want to make sure that when doing those simple lessons, that you really make sure that you understand the concept and you practice the concept before you move on. Because if you're like, this is all simple stuff, it's all triadic based or whatnot, and you just kind of move ahead to like 3, 4, 5, 6, and you find like, whoa, wait a minute, this is like starting to get exponentially more difficult. Just bear in mind, it follows that same graduated, graded approach. So don't get fooled thinking that, this is way too simple for me, I don't need any of this, because the information there will be really good to be able to like help get your accompaniments together. In Piano Accompaniment Essentials as well, the PACE program, we're going to be moving into other styles. The TCI is very much jazz blues slanted, and the reason is, well, jazz and blues is really kind of like, if you can improvise there, then improvising in other styles is much easier once you understand jazz and blues improvisation. So in the PACE program, we're going to be starting with some of that more like easier rock accompaniment kind of stuff, but then be moving into other styles as well, right? So whereas TCI kind of starts more jazz and blues, the PACE program is going to start more rock pop, related, and then start to move into the more complicated styles of jazz, bossa nova, that kind of stuff. All right. All right. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions, so I am going to wrap up then. All right. So just as a quick reminder, tomorrow, TCI, 1 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Eastern is Standards by the Dozen. Again, if you're joining me YouTube or Facebook, those sessions are for members only. So you can learn more about a membership. Just go back to jazzedge.com, check out the membership there. And besides that, check one more time. No other questions. So thank you all very much. Have yourself a great day, and I will see you guys maybe tomorrow. All right. Take care, guys.